Good afternoon to everyone. We're going to have this roundtable now on the vegetables industry, on growth, feedbacks on agricultural robots. So we are very lucky because we have with us Thomas Beach, who uses robot and he supports growers for services, and Florent, who doesn't have a robot yet, but is going to tell us about the challenges he wants to raise on the vegetable side. Let's start with the speakers. They're going to introduce themselves. So, Thomas, can you please introduce yourself, your company, and everything?
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's really good to be back at FIRA again. It's such a fantastic event. So I represent Autonomous Agri Solutions, and what we're really focused at doing is bridging the gap between the fantastic tech developers, of which there are lots outside today, and the farmers, to understand specifically what the problems are and look for the solutions, rather than developing a product and forcing it to fit into a farming environment. We do this different ways. Firstly, we try to sell robots. We try to be like a dealer to do the sales, service, and support. But we've realized it's very difficult for a new technology with a market that just doesn't exist. There isn't the evidence behind the robots that they have been proven, and a one-day demonstration in the field doesn't quite do it justice. So I think what we'll move on to in a little while is to talking about how we have started an operation we call RAS, Robot as a Service, to provide farmers the results of new technology, but by breaking down some of the barriers to adoption, such as the capital investment it takes to purchase this expensive equipment.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Florent, est-ce que tu peux...
Thank you, Thomas. Florent, can you please present your farm? Well, the farm, it's cereal field crops in organic, and it was converted in 2015. And for the past 5 years, we've been developing the vegetable side on the open field with also we are doing artichokes, onions, aromatic plants, and the solutions are really important for us. We've been thinking about it for a long time. Not to replace anyone, we talk about we grow squashes as well. We want to really deal with mechanical weeding because in organic farming it is a very important point with the climate years we've had. It can be very complicated to deal with. So I think it's important to start with challenges before speaking about solutions. So in terms of challenges on the organic farming that you're implementing in for your vegetables crops, what are you expecting? And how do you envisage to answer these challenges? Would robotization be a solution? Well, as a matter of fact, robotics, we've been listening to that for many days, yesterday, tomorrow too. We have problem with labor, we have problem with working comfort. What I can see in robotic solution is the fact that it is opportunity for us to get a real diversification. What I mean is that throughout this robotization, maybe I'm dreaming, I hope not, but I'm envisaging certain crops that I wouldn't have envisaged without the help, the support of the robotics. So basically, agricultural robots for me, it allows me to diversify my crops, to extend my markets, to be more resilient on volatility of prices of energy and of labor as well. So it is a combination that is quite general that allows me today to project myself within an economical, environmental context that is not very good, let's say things. So that I still have some dynamic and some positivism. So within this context that is not very good with agricultural crisis that is generalized not just in France but abroad as well. So how how could you think about the future, to think about investing into technology like robots? And within this context of crisis, what are the indicators you're going to base yourself on to do this kind of investment? Well, yes, when thinking about that, because of course I'm not on my own. So we are thinking about this. We are looking at the impact of mechanization on the cultivation path and see how we can just see what mechanization would cost with a robot compared to field crops. And really, for field crops, I don't see myself imagining automation field crops, but for the crop agriculture and sports farming, I think that and vegetable gardening, I think there the robot use, of course, it's calculation on paper, and I've been talking with many equipment manufacturers. But really, to give you an idea, mechanization for soybean in organic agriculture, it's between 15 to 20% of turnover. And compared to vegetable or aromatic crops, robotic represents a ratio of mechanization load compared to turnover to 12 to 15%. So it is quite performing. And then it kills the prejudices one might have against robots. Okay, so your thinking goes well beyond the price, the upfront price one can see. And there's a real thinking behind this on duration for the mechanization costs for different crops. There's one point you were telling me that your farm is really like a field crop, cereals. And then for your vegetable crops, you would like to have your vegetables very near the farm. And we know that is a main topic for robotics, is logistics. Thomas.
About that, because logistics is really key when you do service as a service model. So you will explain that to us. But maybe first, let's talking Florent sur effectivement cette logistique.
Think about these logistics, because it's part of this logistic is part of the choice when you're envisaging the purchase of a robot. Of course, geographically, I think it's 150 hectares. The farm is not, it's a big farm for some, very small for others. It depends what your reference point is. Of course, if it's all spread out around the farm building, for mechanical weeding, it's very complicated. Even if you have 100% of the tractor fleet that is remote guided, it's very complicated. So vegetable, open field vegetable crops, if it's closer around the farm building, but robot logistics makes it easier, and also for laboring, for loading, uploading, preparing orders, etc. is much easier to have it around the farm building. So that is a question around the purchase of the robot. And then at the end of the day, it's not that easy to see in terms of money, but really it's something you can see intellectually. You need to think about other crops that you didn't think of. Once again, that opens new ideas, new dimensions, a bit of gratification and interest in taking interest. My parents were doing maize for years and years, and then you get bored with maize because the markets for maize is not really manageable. So here we feel gratified with a small circuit, with robotics that we don't know that much. And so it's you have different tools that are available, and it's not a substitution. We're not going to replace somebody by something, but we want to complement the use of mechanization and getting closer around geographically around the farm building. I think it's part of the business plan that can be implemented in terms of efficacy and reactiveness on the work to be carried out. Thank you, Florent. You gave us a view on your on mechanical weeding for vegetables and how you're going to manage this. Then we can go into English now with Thomas.
Before seeing a video of what you are doing and providing with the robots, maybe you can just give us some feedback about those aspects about logistics and as well the weeding control, the mechanical weeding control for organic farming and etc. And what is the purpose of your mission with a company?
A big part of our role is being an integrator. And this doesn't just mean that we're integrating different technologies together. We've got to integrate robotics into the farming system. Over the last 30 years in the UK and before that, especially in the fresh produce and high value crops, there has been big industry consolidation. So the farmers are getting bigger, their fields are getting further apart, and it's not unusual to have two fields 80 kilometers between them. So logistics is really, really important for the robots, and it's one of the barriers to entry that a farmer must consider. And when they're doing their ROI calculations, they must also consider not just when it's working in the field, but getting it to the field and moving it between them. I believe there is a way that this can work, and it was a challenge that we had to overcome in our business when providing the robot as a service. So to do this, if you're a farmer and you're moving a tractor between the fields, you can drive a tractor that distance. Putting a robot on a trailer behind a tractor is quite easy. If you have the appropriate planning in place before you do the field work, you can get off the tractor, you can start the robot, you can leave, and then you can continue with other operations like irrigation. One thing that we found is great support from the farmers in their ability to want it to work. They are visionary farmers that want to make a difference. So to do this, they support us. We're a small business. We don't have the resources to have a fleet of 10 different trucks that are moving robots around all day. So for now, we work very closely with the farmers to match up with their logistics, their other operations. And we also see, well, what practical things can we do to, behind a pickup truck, put a water bowser with chemical to, rather than move like you would take your sprayer back to the farmyard to fill it up, well, actually, can we do it differently now and take the chemical to the field? We've also worked it out that there is a critical point where if we have enough contracts with enough customers, we can start to look at some of these bigger operations, buy a lorry, have a driver who is full-time moving robots between a field, servicing them, leaving it working for 12 hours, going to the next one, going to the next one. One operator can comfortably look after 5 robots in different fields, and this means their job is more on logistics and farm management rather than managing people and a team of staff where you need to move toilets to the field for harvest. It's possible, but it is definitely a challenge.
Yeah, and typically with the supervisor you're speaking about, what is his mission during when he's supervised or you overwatch 5 robots in the meantime in the same field? Are the robots in pose for I don't know, whatever is happening in the field? What is his mission? He's relaunching the robot, what he's doing. And I think it's also interesting to share that just also for Florent, for example, because you spoke, Thomas, you spoke about a very important topic about the robotics, which is the integration. We consider the cost of the robot when we buy the robot and the economics at the end of the day on return on investment. But often we do not consider the cost of the integration and how many times that takes. And I think also a good way to approach or to learn about the integration cost is to provide as a service, because both you and the farmers are learning on that. So what is your experience in that?
So I think your first point there was about what is the supervisor doing. So as farmers growing vegetables, there is a field supervisor or a farm manager who is not cutting the broccoli and putting it in the boxes, but what his big role is there is to supervise the staff to manage the quality, to manage the results of the people in the field. It's exactly the same with a robot. You're not driving the robot, driving the tractor, but you're managing the quality of the result that it performs. You're making small adjustments to your weeder. You're making planning about where the chemical is going to be for your spray, or when you need to change the blades for a mechanical weeder. So it really is a bit like people management, but it's just a machine, not a person.
Yeah, so that means, and that is joining what Florent was saying before. We're not replacing people, but people are working differently and learning different things, and their job is just changing with more valuable work and job.
There is definitely potential with robotics, especially around harvest robotics, which I think is an underserved industry for vegetables, to have a clear labor saving. Where we are with robots at the moment, I think they add huge value to farming practices, though it is not a direct relationship between you buy one robot, you lose one person. You can make someone more efficient and you can make someone's job better, but it's not a direct labor saving with vegetable robots at the moment.
Yeah, very good. Maybe we can see now the video of what you're doing and providing. So please, est-ce que vous pouvez lancer la vidéo avec du son?
Just like to introduce the video if possible, please, when we start. So this is a video made of an example of an operation we did with a customer. The brief we were given is they wanted to prove that they could improve their production of carrots and parsnips through the use of different robotic systems. So they came to us with a very clear question. How can we grow a field of parsnips without putting a tractor in the field? And this was a perfect challenge for us. Some of these operations we're doing at bigger scale for other growers. This was the first time we integrated different robotic systems together in the same field to do all the way from the first primary cultivation of subsoiling up until the point where they did then use the standard harvest methods.
Skippy Scout, Roboti, Agrointelli, and AgSeed all working together at the same time? This is the first and possibly the only time you'll ever see these robots in one field at the same time. HunterPack, the UK's leading root vegetable grower, is running an innovative project to see how the carbon output from a typical field of parsnips can be reduced by using lightweight autonomous robots. First up was an AgSeed Agbot. This lightweight, self-propelled robot has the power to prepare soil and create the beds. This was followed by the Roboti Agrointelli autonomous robot to precision plant the parsnip seeds. The XAG P100 Pro would manage the whole field spraying operations at the later growth stages, while regular flights by Skippy Scout would keep the HunterPack agronomists informed of progress. 10 weeks later, we were all back on site to assess progress. Even at this early stage of the project, the carbon reduction figures are looking staggering. I won't quote the preliminary numbers that came up in the briefing. We'll reveal the final figures in November when the crop is harvested. This groundbreaking project was only made possible through funding from Marks and Spencer's. Without their support, innovation like this would develop much more slowly. Thanks, Marks and Spencer's.
So what is the feedback at the end of the day of the growers using your services, and what are their expectations and their roadmap? Is there any room for them to buy a robot in 2 or 3 years, or they will continue to only use as a service model?
Firstly, I'd like to say the days they come with the cameras to film the robots and they say, stop, start, move it over here, it makes it very, very difficult to show the true operations. But when we were there multiple times going through the field, it is a proper farming operation. Yeah, so the reason we offer the service model is to try and get customers into a position where they have the confidence to purchase this machinery. So we had the first time we tried this operation, that exactly worked. One season we provided a service for the farmer, and we really aim for cost parity. We don't aim to make it cheaper, but we aim to match the costs for the same production. This then allows the farmer, when they don't pay my wage bill to come and operate a robot, and they can do it themselves, they can then see the savings and see the gain there. For some growers, they will always be service customers. They don't have the infrastructure and the resources in their business to ever buy a robot. Especially if they're smaller farmers or groups of different farmers working together, it may be more challenging. And this is something we see with standard harvest machinery, combine harvesters, farmers use contractors normally. But other growers believe in it and they want it to work, but they want to see it proved in their field, in their specific environment, with their specific crop type. We have a lettuce grower last year who we weeded 120 hectares roughly of lettuce. Then we applied liquid fertilizer with a robot. That was a really good system for them. But they have actually now changed their system slightly, a bit like what we were talking about in the last panel discussion about changing the orchards. They've now changed their bed system from a 2-meter bed to a 3-meter bed. They have half as many wheelings in the field, and this is possible because of Agro-Intelli robotics we're using for this system. And again, they're doing one more year of testing with us, paying us to do it. They're trying the new season, but I'm very, very confident that they will be our customer in the future. And we know that what we deliver to them when they buy from us will be a working, proven product, not something that needs a lot of hand-holding all the way through the process.
Yeah. So the robot is not replacing as well a tractor in the classic way by one-to-one. It is much more as well an integration and mixing the things. And it's interesting because that means in terms of integration, you need to build the use case with the growers at the end of the day. So the fact that you provide as a service model allows also to build the use case, because it's true that we do not have, I think this morning we had a presentation saying that there is almost 3,000 robots around the world in operations. So it's not a lot compared to tractor. So that means we do not have a lot of use case, very, very strong use case. So yeah, it's coming on that point. And I think for Florent, it's as well something interesting in your approach to build your business plan for your farm, to have this use case, business case for the robot. And you were speaking about the economics just before, the return on investment and the gross margin with the robot for soybeans, etc. So yeah, that is clearly a global overview we do have to get in mind when we spoke about robotics and when we want to buy robotics as a farmer, I think. So now I will switch in French again.
Yes, as I was saying, we've been looked at the needs of somebody like Florent who wants to do more vegetable growing and he wants to buy a robot. And it's very interesting because we are really talking about somebody who thinks about what kind of robot I'm going to use and what for. And then we've had Thomas, who provides support and services to growers. And so there is a feedback already on how they operate and what are the gains and also the issues, the problems that one might find with growers. And now what we're looking at is a video recording of somebody testimonying about a robot user in France. We need to have the sound, of course, and he's going to tell us how he got the robot and how it costs him in terms of integration and what is his feedback. I think that we will never go back to where we were before. Hello, Christine François, Thierry François. We are producing aromatic plants in Plan de Rouen in Bouches-du-Rhône. The farm is 3.5 hectares, 1 hectare of greenhouse and open field. We only have one person for the summer season, half time. I saw a video on YouTube, and there was an open day in a station near Senas. We went to see the demo. It was really right at the beginning. It was the first gen, the real beginning. They came back and did a test 2 years later in our farm. And then, of course, with the GPS, it was really performing. And we said, yes, let's go for it. Well, it's really weeding and seeding. That's wonderful. A robot that can seed autonomously. It was really time consuming because we need to mark, do the furrows, and then there we used to put the to have the right furrows. We were using water, and how we don't use that system anymore. It can work really. Once the seedling have started, we go around. If you have little weeds, we do it. The earlier we do it, the smaller the adventist. So we're doing with the drips to do right furrows. And then here, the manual weedings on small adventices like that, it's at least half a day. And with the robot, it's carried out in less than an hour. Is much lighter. It can really go earlier, and seeding physically and with the robot, there's no comparison. Uh, we used to plant basil and ciboulette. Now he seeds it. We are seeding basil, parsley, and we used to do it by hand. And also he marks the furrows, and we're now planting chives as well. So we have the right marking. The robot it's very easy to maintain because now he has his marking, so it's precise by 1 centimeter. And because he created its furrow, when he comes back to the greenhouse or to the field, even there's a slight offset, doesn't matter. The robot is working really autonomously. Yes, he made things much easier, much quicker. We can all work simultaneously. You can start with the mission assignment. The second one comes with his or her smartphone and really carries on the assignment, the task. It's really, and you know where you are, especially with the seeds. When you do mix seedlings in the greenhouse, what I do is that when I seed, I know the time I need, but I can check it on my phone and do something else. You see, I can collect at the same time. It's much, much easier doing two things at the same time. Well, with the wheels, it's really big gain of time. We had a set of double wheels and a set of simple wheels. The simple wheel is there, you just add a second wheel. That's so much easier. The tool is really very precise, now very sensitive, and adapts to our needs. And I think we are now really working very well together. The adaptability of the robot is really good. If you have the implement that you're used to and you think it works well, you can find solutions where you put the implement on the robot so that it does the same work. It's a very good relationship with Nayo, with the whole team of Nayo, with the Nova team. We work really hand in hand, and they're very reactive. Now for maintenance, it needs very, very small maintenance. Once a year, they come and check that everything goes well. Who would you recommend a robot to? Well, aromatic herbs producers, also organic growers, absolutely. Could be a very, very important. And then when you start with your seeds, then you need to have fertilizing after that. No, we couldn't do without it now. No, in no way we would go back to the past. Just to do what the robot does. Well, first of all, we cannot find any labor to start with. A few years ago, you had people who came, we say you should do weeding. You ask people do weeding, manual weeding, they all go. They don't want to do any weeding. And there's also a problem with profitability. It's not profitable to ask people to do the weeding by hand. Yes, we have subsidies. It is an aspect that we can speak about. Okay, stop there. it's a French subsidies. It's a Franco-French topic, so it's not relevant for the international audience. Okay.
Similar to the experience you have with the as a service model, Thomas?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, it is. But one of the differences with agriculture being such a changing environment at the moment, we're not just competing with the standard practice and the methods of doing it. We've got to compete with all of the other forces on industry as well. So one contract that we performed in sugar beet was very, very successful from an operation point of view and from a costing point of view. But actually, they have decided for 2025 to grow Caviso sugar beet, which is a treated seed. It needs one spray, and it's a different management approach. And that was almost a separate conversation to the robot. But to be able to sell a robot and make a robot work on farm, you have to understand the wider environment. With some of our growers that have been looking at salad crops, they're looking at increasing the area and doing more and saying this is essential. But we don't just do the autonomous tractor. Being autonomous and driving itself is part of the process, but we have sold mechanical weeding machines that go on the back of a tractor using camera systems in row and inter row, and that is somewhere where growers that previously have been using a fixed hoe behind a tractor or manual weeding and move to a camera guided in row inter row hoe, there is no returning back from that. Once they get the technology, the operators get used to how they can use it. The fact that it could be autonomous, that's the next step, and there are some customers that do want that for certain environments, but even just the first step of mechanization and making the job automatic rather than autonomous is still hugely beneficial, and the farmers that take that step forwards will never go backwards.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. Switch in French. Florent.
So, Florent, we're going to let you finish and give the words, the concluding words, because you gave the introductory remarks. So, how are you going to answer throughout robotics? And now to conclude and to give the floor to the questions, what are the next steps as far as you're concerned? What is your roadmap to integrate robotics in your farm in the best way, considering all this complexity that we have touched upon, and all these gains, but also all this complexity? What is your roadmap on that? And then we'll have a Q&A session. Well, we're working on the roadmap every day, and it changes every day as a matter of fact. But first of all, what could it generate in terms of investment, and what is the long-term vision one might hope for this kind of investment? And then throughout this, maybe we can also, just to copy what my parents did in their career as farmers, there were many things that worked because they were not at the forefront, but very, very good with innovation and robotics. And the agricultural world is really, with robotics, that opens the field of what is possible and to really answer challenges we are meeting. And I think it's a really good point. The roadmap is not set yet, but we are thinking about it. And to be very concrete, we are establishing also figures for robots, what is possible, what is not possible, to be able to really, as Thomas was saying, to integrate the robot within the farm. Well, thank you, Florent. Now, do we have any questions for Thomas or for Florent regarding the topic we just touched upon?
The translation. If no questions, I propose to to say thank you to our panel and merci aux intervenants.
Thank you very much to the speakers, and have a wonderful end of day at FIRA. Thank you very much. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you.